Hello Lunicorns, to part 2 of my top tips to be a good virtual online presenter or host, whatever you want to call it. The fact that we can't meet up physically right now due to Corona and the limiting size on a number of people who can attend events, right now it's becoming more and more important to be a good presenter online. So in this video, I want to share some top tips and tricks of how I approach this. And this is based on my experience in the last few weeks now, where I've been doing almost 150 live broadcasts, online only, and I've made all the mistakes, but I've learned some lessons in that. So I want to share those with you. Now, as I see live streaming becoming more commonplace on specifically Facebook, I see a classic error happening all the time. And I've made this mistake many times, but people don't quite realize when they're going live, right? So they'll go live and they'll be like, and we're live, right? Which is not very sexy. It's not very professional if you go live and there's just silence and it's you or the person presenting just staring off into the distance. It's like, are they live? Is it going to happen? Is there some technical difficulty? So just when you go live, be ready to go live. So when you press that live button, you're in present mode. Get ready, build up beforehand. I do that by manually clicking live in Facebook. I don't let it schedule because there's a delay in Facebook when you go live from a scheduled post when I go in my WebEx Cisco system. So I eliminate that risk by going manual override and I start live in Facebook myself to make sure that I always know that when I go live, it's 2 seconds and we're live. And we're welcoming back everyone. So it's just bang, straight to the back. A hack to that now is to put share your screen, put a slide up, and that slide could be the event title or the sponsors or some music or whatever. It looks really good, and it means that you can even have a countdown to going live. So 5, 10, 15 minutes before the time you're meant to go live, you actually go live, but you just put this slide presentation up basically. And then when you want to go live, you stop sharing your screen or stop sharing your slides, and then you're ready, then you're in full control. So if you're bringing on people in the call, remember that they'll be muted, but you need to have a line of conversation, whether it's you if you're controlling everything or your support function, your producer. They should have a line of contact at all times with the people that are meant to be coming on live. Just in case you have audio issues, just in case you need to move the order around, make sure that they have a Slack window, which is what I use, Slack. I invite them all into a channel, and I or my producer or support function will help me in that dialogue and that narrative. Another hack, make sure that you introduce people. Don't let them introduce themselves, because if you introduce people, you can control how long you take, because typically you're doing this in a time frame, right? And more often than not, when you give someone a stage to introduce themselves and talk about their accolades, they might well do that for minutes, and then it's a bit unfair for you to cut them off, but at the same time, you need to control at all times the script and the direction. So don't be afraid to interrupt people, but you can eliminate that issue of people's long-winded 5-minute introductions if you introduce them yourself. So I used to have cue cards with big bold letters and names. If you are like me, I'm dyslexic. I really struggle with spellings and pronunciations, right? So what I do is I will either say their first name, or I'll ask them before, hey, so how do you spell the surname? How do I say that? And practice a few times before you go live. And if you say it wrong, just go through it. Don't apologize too much and just go like, oh, sorry, forgive me for butchering it, and then move on. Keep the narrative moving, keep the flow going. Think about camera angles. If you're lucky enough to have cameras, I have these cameras lying around. I'm using one of these right now, the Sony A7 Mark III with a bigger lens. I will prop these up on a tripod, plug them into my computer, and therefore I can have different camera angles coming from left or right. It just adds to the dynamic of the presentation, it adds to the dynamic of the event, and it's just quite a nice way to mix things up. Also, think about audio. These Rode mics, they are not particularly expensive, and they add such better quality audio than your laptop or computer audio. So if you're really doing like a high value, high quality event, think about audio support, because you can plug these into the computer too. And they also even have small little mics which you can clip under your shirt. If you want something less invasive than this, I do this because it kind of looks cool and it's a very good podcasting audio. But that's another way to sort of add to the set design, add to the professionalism of the presentation you're making. When people watch it immediately, they'll think, oh, wow, this is a pretty pro setup. They must be doing something right. Put the brakes on for a second. If you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button. It really helps the video get promoted higher and helps me build my channel, because I want to bring you as much content as I can. Thank you. I get this question a lot, which is how many channels can you stream to at once? Now, when you stream to Facebook, I won't get into the details, but you just plug in, whether it's through Zoom or through WebEx or whatever system you're using. It's relatively simple. You can also just go live on a camera on your computer on Facebook, no problem. But if you're doing a proper event, going live to a Facebook page, and you also want to live stream to a YouTube page, you need to use a Restreaming service. Now, these services are not too difficult and not too expensive, but do some research into Restreaming services. They can make your life easier, but also you'll need someone else to support you. Because when you're live streaming to YouTube and Facebook through a Restreaming service, you will need someone who is an admin of the YouTube channel you're trying to stream to actually allow that stream to go live when it goes live. They have to actually click a box. So bear that in mind when you're going live, that you want the one that's going to be managing too much. Because like I said in the last lecture, you don't want to be tapping away, doing lots of things, distracting the audience, creating annoying noise around you. So you should try to have a support function, whether it's a member of your team who can do all the background work, and just less distracting for the audience too. Another point is that when you invite people into your live stream, make sure they're muted before, because I've had that experience when you're live and someone's child jumps on their lap, makes a lot of noise, a dog, a siren outside the window, whatever it might be. It distracts the audience, it adds some extra noise. The worst thing is when you hear someone, with a phone, ba-bing, 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 or something like that, or someone's Slack channel is going crazy because you're communicating on that. Make sure they are muted. Just because when you're live and you're talking, when you call those people on, when they're meant to come and talk, then they just unmute themselves. And the worst case scenario is you have to tell them and remind them to unmute themselves. So I always prep people before I go live. Half an hour before we go live, if I say have 10 people who are joining me in that stream at that time, I'll say, hey, everyone, just bear in mind, muted it all the time. When you are, say you're talking for 5 minutes and then I have someone else on, make sure that they know that they should mute themselves or leave the conversation afterwards. Now, timing of day is super important. If you're live streaming online on Facebook or YouTube, people watch Facebook and tune into Facebook and scroll through that feed all day long, but there are certain times of day that they're a lot more likely to watch video content, especially live content. Odds are if you go live at 5 a.m., no one's going to watch it, and you want people to watch that live because you can interact with them. Going live at the wrong time isn't great, and it's not doing the event justice. It's not doing you justice. So think about the right time to go live on the event page and what channel. Think about what people want to watch at what time. Also, don't do just streams and streams of live events. Break it up throughout the day if you can, and make sure you promote it before. Practice makes perfect, right? No one's expecting you to go up there on this virtual stage and kill it every single time. But the more you do it, the more you learn. The more you do it, the more you see your weaknesses. Like, I speak too quickly sometimes, and most of the time I'm probably speaking too quickly now. But in my last lecture, I made points to say, I write cue cards to myself by the camera angle and the lens to say, slow down, Matt, take a breath, take a pause. But if you don't watch yourself back, you'll never know these things, right? So I often actually watch myself immediately after I do a live broadcast. And I'll even ask friends who watched it, family, my girlfriend, she's been amazing to me, thanks darling, to give me advice on what they think I should do. What I would recommend you do is, if you're about to host a session, before you do that, whether it's a day or a week before, depending on how much time you have to prepare, go on screen yourself. Don't just practice in front of a mirror or in front of a partner or a friend in a small audience. Practice in front of the camera. You need to get comfortable with this virtual stage because it's a strange setup. You're alone, you're looking at a camera, there's maybe a light like I have, there's maybe some audio support, but your setup is different. You're not looking at an audience. So I feel like often when I look at an audience and I'm speaking too quickly or I'm speaking too much, I'm going down a rabbit hole and not coming to the point, I'll realize. But when it's just you in front of an audience, there's no cues. You can't read off anyone. So practice makes perfect. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. It really helps the video getting ranked higher. And actually subscribe to my channel if you want to see weekly business insights and some funny comedy sketches along the way. I promise you that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.